Welcome to the Choosing Happiness Crusade and video series. This is your host, Aspire Magazine publisher Linda Joy, and I am back for another inspiring conversation in this series. As you have discovered or are about to, each of these conversations is really about two women having a conversation about their path and their journey through life, and on our path discovering that we have to choose happiness in the midst of everyday moments. It isn't this magical moment that we choose happiness and all is well and we stay in tune with that vibration. Far from it. As you'll discover in today's conversation also, choosing happiness is about choosing it over and over again in the midst of life's messiness. And joining me today is the radiant Alexa Linton. And we're going to be talking about so many fun things today, and we are going to touch base on Alexa's journey to choosing happiness. So let me introduce her. A modern day cowgirl. Look at the little things on her shirt. A modern day cowgirl on a mission, Alexa Linton lights up her world with her infectious personality, horse sense, and her secret sauce, body talk. When these forces combine, lives transform in fabulous ways. With over a decade's experience as an equine sport therapist and working with thousands of pets and people, Alexa rocks a style all her own. A fire starter by nature, it's her big, big mission to help women find their spark and create a life they love. Welcome.
Thanks, Linda. It's great to be here.
I love the little. Well, actually, you corrected me because I see horses. That's because I don't have glasses on, but
Mhm.
they are little unicorns.
They're
They're
little
adorable.
unicorns.
That's priceless. And I love your description, a modern day cowgirl, because you and I have played in the past, and that's exactly how I see you. This
Mhm.
sassy, kick-ass. Like I don't see you as a regular cowgirl. I see you with the red boots, the red
Totally.
hat, pure sass. Um, but I just love everything that you do. I love um, how you're so open about sharing your own journey, but how you've also taken all that knowledge, your own journey, your own healing, to integrate it into the work you do today. So choosing happiness wasn't something that came easy for you. There was a time in your life that it was the complete opposite. So take us back to those moments so that they can our listeners can viewers can see the contrast of the woman they're seeing today.
Yeah. Well, when I was a young girl, I was definitely, yeah, I was not the sparky one that I am now. I had a major, let's call it an overachiever complex and perfectionist stuff of the yin yang, and so I was very much about pleasing everybody, and it was all about everybody else, really. And I didn't even really know how to connect with myself or become aware of how I was feeling. I was completely disconnected from my own experience at the time, other than the approval or acceptance I was receiving or felt I was receiving from others. And of course, when you live like that, it's sort of a recipe for disaster in some ways. It's sort of rife with disappointment because, you know what, the long and the short of it is, until you come to that place of acceptance and approval of yourself, oftentimes that need for it outside of you falls very, very short of what you're actually wanting. And so I went through my early days this way, all the way up until I was about 23. And I remember um, going through high school and then university, and it was all very by rote. It was very much like, okay, you get the straight A's and you are the star athlete, and you do your very best, and you always put in 150%, and it was never enough. It just never filled that void in me. And the one thread through it all was my, shall we call it, obsession with horses.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was younger, I had like my entire room plastered with horse posters. And I grew up in the city, Linda. So I grew up in the middle of Vancouver, on the west coast here in Canada. And so it wasn't like it was really accessible, but I made my best effort. You know, every summer I'd go see my cousin with horses, and I rode as much as I could. And at 13, I started riding lessons. And what I noticed is that there was this ability, or this experience that I had with horses that was like no other, where there was no expectations and no pressure, and it was just about me and my connection with this being. And it wasn't until later on that I really started to understand what that really meant, what that was all about for me. But at the time, I just knew it felt so incredible to be, you know, with horses up on their back, wherever it was. I mean, you could put me in a barn and tell me to muck out 30 stalls. I was happy, you know, as long as I had the horse smell and got to, you know, scratch some beautiful animals. I was so content. And so as I started to work through this, eventually I got to that place that we all get to, where it was like I kind of hit my wall. And at the time I was at this, I had actually taken a co-op term in university, and I was in Wales. I was literally in this castle in Wales on the Bristol Channel, pretty much on my own. Everybody else had gone home, and I guess what happened is I came up against that emptiness finally. You know, I didn't have any distractions. I didn't, you know, there was nobody there to kind of make me feel better. And I just sort of found that wall and went, oh my God, you know, and it was my first moment of having what I would consider a suicidal thought. It was really like, oh God, this is not good. And I spent a couple days in bed there, and just I couldn't get myself up. It was like that feeling of like all my energy had drained out of me, and I knew at that point that something had to shift. And so I came back and started my last year of university, and at that point I just, some part of me made these decisions, and I was en route to being a doctor or something normal, shall we call it, a physiotherapist or a chiropractor. And I literally, Linda, had two prerequisites to finish to be able to apply for any of those. I had the best grades, you know, I was top of my class. And I instead decided to take Spanish and philosophy of religion. And I took this total 180, and it was almost like this subconscious part of me said, no, we're not going that way. And about halfway through the year, when I realized, well, I don't have these prereqs, so what am I going to do next? Happened, you know, it was just the universe kind of conspired to me happening upon this website, and it was the BC College of Equine Therapy. And at the time, I just got back into riding, and it was just like this amazing passion, you know, like, you know, when you return to something you love so deeply, right? I just was feeling myself again. And when I found this college that was only, you know, it's only about a 4-hour drive away, I literally applied like twice that day, and then I called as well and was like, okay, so
did you get my application?
Yeah, that's like, you know, what's, you know, do I need anything else? It was one of those knowings of yes. And so I started college that year, that September, and it literally, Linda, I mean, it just broke me down, but in this such a beautiful way, because what I was doing was every month I would go there for 2 days, learn a bunch of stuff, come home and practice on the horses around me. And I kid you not, these horses were my biggest teacher, because they showed me all these amazing, I mean, my mind just like continuously was blown open by what they had to offer me. And it was just incredible, and still is. Every day when I work with horses, I feel just so blessed and so open to new understandings, new awarenesses. And so, yeah, this whole journey. And then, of course, 2 months later, after starting college, meeting one of the loves of my life, you know? So, and fulfilling a lifelong dream, which, of course, for the horsey girl, you all know it. It's owning a horse of your own, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what I'm hearing that's so beautiful is in the midst of your darkest pain, that moment at the castle,
Yeah.
um, when you hit the wall, look what's blossomed out of that.
Exactly.
Because you chose that, as hard as it was, you got out of bed.
Yep. Got out of
You
bed.
got out of bed. And I know that kind of depression. I lived with it for a
Yep.
lot of my teen years and probably early 20s. So I could feel what you were feeling because I've been
Mm,
there.
yeah.
And you didn't, I want to reiterate this, that you didn't know the moment you just made the choice to get out of bed, which was baby step one.
Yes.
You didn't know what the future held. You just knew I want something different than lying in this bed feeling this way. And you made baby choice one, which led to
Yep.
baby choice two. And that's really the hope and inspiration I'm trying to give through this series is we
Mhm.
don't always know what the next step is. And the truth is you don't need to. You
Not at
don't
all.
need to. And I used to be a control freak like you. I used to be, well, I'm not going to point B until you tell me what point B is. I want a full
Completely.
description. I want to know the path, the journey, and what it looks like when I'm going to get there. And if I can't have that, then I'm not taking action. It
Yeah,
was a fear.
absolutely.
I see now that's complete fear-based
Yep.
thinking, and but it was my safety. It was my safety zone for a long time. And it
Mhm.
sounds like you, what you were sharing is in your younger years, instead of allowing happiness to come from within, which I think this is for everyone,
Yep.
society created so many women who need this. They need the outside pat on the back.
Yeah.
They need validation from everyone except themselves.
Got
And
it.
of course, what happens? We keep searching. I need it more. I need it
It's
more. And
never there.
it's never ever going to be there.
Mhm.
It's just empty, shallow living and a
Got it.
feeling of just for me it was emptiness. And it
Absolutely.
wasn't until I turned in, which is exactly what you did when you after your crisis, when you said, no, I need to stop looking outside of myself. It might not have been a conscious decision. It was just I've heard women describe it. It was just an inner knowing that enough is enough. This isn't working.
Yeah. You reach that point, right? It's like I can't do this anymore. I can't live this way. Yeah. And what I noticed, and I'm sure you have as well, and does, is after making that decision, it wasn't like miraculously, yeah, I'm happy. Like,
No.
oh gosh, no, right? It was like there was levels and layers and so many. I mean, literally, I had to shed the coping mechanisms and personality traits that I'd piled on for years, right? But that moment for me was like, okay, I don't want to do this like this anymore. I need to find a different way. And so, it really, and then with the horses coming in and just showing me it's all about being lighter and letting go and allowing, right? And that was their teachings all the way through is can you let this go? Can you let go of control, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking of your life now, and I'm thinking back to the story you just shared when you said
Yeah.
originally your schooling was lining you up to follow everyone else's
Oh,
expectations,
yeah.
doctor or all this. It was in that moment, this is what I believe is in that moment when you picked Spanish and what philosophy of religions,
Oh, yeah.
that
Uh-huh.
was your inner wisdom going, oh girl, you are not listening, but that is so not your life path. Let me lead the way.
Got it.
So, even though you might not have been able to acknowledge and name it at that time, your inner wisdom was like, oh, I'm going to help guide her to the right path.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
then as you found yourself in those classes, and did all of a sudden you finally start saying, oh, this is what living authentically is about?
Yeah, and I think it came a lot later than that, but what I recognized was because I took those classes, it was almost like I'd closed that other door a little bit. And so I would go back and go, because I come from a background where being a professional and doing something normal is everything in life, right?
Yeah.
And being a success on that level. And so I fought it for years. And then eventually, I think it was about 3 years ago, I said, you know what? I freaking love what I do. Like I look at this cool, amazing life that I get to live, surrounded by horses every day, helping people, opening up eyes, opening my own mind. And I just, that was the moment I said, stop it. I'm not looking that way. I'm living this real, this is who I am. I need to embrace it on the deepest possible level, and that was a huge, so it's so interesting looking back, because I realize it's like these choices, conscious or otherwise, okay, we're this is the time to deepen, this is the time to do it differently, this is, so yeah, so fascinating. And then in that comes the deeper and deeper ability to live more and more in realness and authenticity, right? Because we're like honoring what we need and what we're truly all about. Yeah.
And that's what I really believe, I've come to believe from life experience, that really we're all this, all came here with a purpose, and I can see that you truly found yours. But until we do the work, for many people, it's hidden under layers of bullshit, layers of old stories, layers of expectations of others. But as we keep taking those baby steps, and I love the word you used earlier, you said shedding, because that's what it felt like for me. It was like shedding another mask, and then one day that soul part of you is burning so brightly, you just feel like this is who I am, and you own it. And then when I can see it in your eyes, when you own it and you're living your purpose, that's when we can really make an impact on the world.
Absolutely. And I mean, it was so amazing for me because horses, I don't know if everybody knows this, but horses basically, just how they're made, what they do is they see into you. So Diva, my mare, from that time over a decade ago, just said, I see you. And she just kept her eye on that ball, and there was nothing else to do but let everything else go. Then that true essence of who I was, right? And everything else just, sometimes with a fight, sometimes with resistance, everything else just had to fall away. It wasn't really real or a part of me. And so I look at horses, and I am, the gratitude that I have for animals and horses being in my life is a big part of it, is that, because if any of you are, anybody listening is an animal person, you'll know when that, one of your animals looks at you, it's like they're seeing deep into your soul, right? They don't care about the masks, and they don't care about all these parts of, they do, they're holding space for it, but they are basically here to help you shed all of those things and find that truest, part of you, that the part that is authentically happy and, and just, in your joy and able to make choices. Like you said, Linda, earlier, like that choosing happiness, it happens every day. And that is coming back to that center place of knowing, like, without doubt, that you're supported, that you are meant to be here, that you have this incredible mission that is so crucial to our world and essential. And so it's coming back to that place every day and going, oh yeah, I remember, right? Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's a remembering, because the truth, the essence of who we are has always been there.
Exactly.
It's always been there. And the secret is, like I've discovered, I can't speak for everyone, is I think we're all born I know we're all born with our unique purpose inside us.
Absolutely.
But when we're born, it's almost like it's been erased. It's not in our conscious memory. Yep. But we always have these inklings. For you, it was the posters on the wall as a child of horses.
Absolutely.
It was always having these sparks. And I think we all receive those sparks. And it's almost like the divine's trying to remind us, remember, this is what you were here for. The rest is just a story. And then when you do the work, it's almost as if, and I get so emotional when I try to explain this, because it was like the divine's helping us remember who we are and what we came for. Mm-hmm. And as you do the work, as you did, um, you get to embrace that fully.
Yeah.
And you can always tell, okay? I mean, I can always tell, well, like when you and I first virtually met, what I reached out going, oh man, this girl is living her truth. Love how she's showing up. I remember I shocked the hell out of you when I called you, and she's like, "You calling me?" And I'm like, yeah. There was something I love connecting with women who just radiate this authenticity and radiate that they get it. Like that's the only way I know how to say it, that they get that they are so much more than the labels they put out in the world or the masks that they wear. So I surround myself with those kind of women. And the women, all 30 of us in this video series, are exactly that. They're women who've been there, gone through it, come out the other side with the heart of a warrior woman, and are saying, you know what, I am here to live authentically. I'm choosing happiness in every moment. But I see that in you, and I want that for every woman, you know, because I remember what it was like when I realized, oh my God, everything that I've been searching for was never out there. And
Yep.
when I shifted my energy inward, everything changed.
Yeah.
Everything changed. I actually feel younger now at 52 than I did in my late 30s and even 40s. And I try to just tell people what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Yeah, my body's older and, you know, and wiser, but what I mean is on this energetic, spiritual level.
Mm-hmm.
I feel lighter, more fulfilled, and happier than I ever have in my life. Now, does that mean I haven't had business failure, business success, relationship failure, relationship?
Yep.
I've gone through it all, death, um, illness, but I'm still living authentically. I'm still choosing happiness in the midst of all that mess.
You got
And
it.
so when I feel myself now, I'm like energetically, I love where I'm at. And I can
Yeah.
see that that's the vibration you're holding too is life is not perfect. And you know what? As a human, it's never going to be. And it's an
Mm-mm.
illusion that we're told that it can be. That's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
bull, you know? And
Absolutely. I mean, shit is always gonna happen. This
yes,
is the
and it's
thing.
showing up in the midst of the shit.
You got it.
To
Yeah.
say, you know what, even with this hurtful thing or painful thing or whatever,
Yep.
or unexpected thing going on, I have one choice and one choice only. Because sometimes things happen that are outside of our realm, like death
Yeah.
and loss. But I have the
Absolutely.
choice of how I show up in this moment. And I'm
That's
going to
exactly.
show up with love. I'm going to show up with presence. And that love and presence and choice of joy will help me move through this um, instead of getting caught up in the story.
Yeah.
And you know, it's I can say it now because hindsight's 2020. I mean, I wish I knew all this when I was in my 20s and 30s, but I know I had those experiences so I can be who I am right now. So I have no regrets, even all the perceived negative things that I've done and happened to me.
Totally.
I no longer see as negative. I see as, oh, thank you, divine. Now I
Yeah.
know why you wanted me to experience it.
Exactly. Exactly. And that is such a beautiful way to look at it all because those, like my time in Wales or, different things that have happened over the years, it's those bigger pieces where if someone asked me, would you go back and live it again? If given the choice, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would.
me too.
Because you know what? Like those darkest moments were like there's so much gold there if we can see it that way that there's so much to be learned, there is so much to be understood or brought into awareness about ourselves and so much healing that can happen in those places, and that's yeah, so I always say yes, I would experience them again
and
just because they've brought me here, right?
I'm at that same point in my life. I've been at that point of
Yeah.
for a while now, but I still remember, and this is why I'm so passionate about the work I do with the world through all my brands, is
Hmm.
I still remember what it was like to carry. I swear it was a steamer trunk full of shame and regret
Oh, yes.
because of the choices I had made before I
Hmm.
was awakened to truth, right?
Totally.
And that shame and that regret was a weight I carried for nothing. because really when I finally said, this is getting ridiculous, I can't carry this anymore, and
Yeah.
finally released it all, do you know, that's when I started living authentically. But more than
Yep.
that is once that weight was released, I was free
Yes.
to make new choices. But if you
Yes.
have both hands locked into the past by holding onto the steamer trunk of shame and regret, you don't have
Yes.
the spiritual or emotional energy to tune in right now in the present moment and say, what do I want now? Because you're so busy carrying that
Yeah.
shit. And so I do this, the magazine, the series, everything I do is to say to women, it is possible. Transformation is possible. Healing through pain is possible. And I try to bring as many amazing women like you in front of them, because I believe through storytelling, whether it's through the books, my magazine, or this series, I really believe that through authentic, heart-centered storytelling and sharing, that a woman could be listening right now who is going like, oh my God, I was Alexa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I
Totally.
felt like I had to be a perfectionist or I
Yep.
wouldn't be accepted. I felt she's resonating with you right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
maybe there's something you just shared that will be her shift, her moment of choice.
You got
That's
it.
what this series is about. Giving other women their pivot point, their moment of making a new choice.
I love that. Yes.
And I get emotional with all of this because like you, I've been in the darkness. I
Hmm.
suffered. I made a lot of wrong choices, found myself in a lot of wrong circumstances, all by my choosing.
Yeah.
Um, and I know what it's like on the other side. And when you
Yeah.
know what it's like on the other side, who are we not to share that?
Absolutely. Because I think one of the things when we are in those darkest places, the belief is that we're never going to make it out,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that it's never going to get better and that I'm always going to be here. And I think you and I and all these women are testament to, and many many other women in our lives, I see the circles kind of going out here, are saying no, it's not true. No, it's not true. This, you will come out of this, you will find your way, and the sisterhood is building to help you do that, right? There's the support to open that up for you. It's another choice, right? It's seeing, you've always lived with door A and door B, and now it's like, no, there's actually door C over here, which is really freaking fantastic. Let's see what's behind door number C. I give myself permission to be happy, right? Let's go over there and really
Uh,
open that up.
I love what you said. Give yourself permission to be happy, because really, when we're in the pain and all that, we think we have to stay there. We think
Yep.
that who am I to have want to be happy in the midst of what's going on, whatever that situation may be. Um, but you deserve happiness.
Absolutely. In every moment.
Yes, and it is possible. And I hear jokes all the time. You said it to me when we first met, like, oh my God, Linda, your last name's Joy, and it's such a match for what you do in the world. And I laugh, and I've told this story before, that was my middle name, my birth middle name, and I hated it for
Aha.
hated it for the first 30 years of my life because of Joy dishwashing detergent. I used to have to hear
Right.
jokes. And Divine always knew that the essence of who I was at my core was joy. But I didn't own it. I didn't see it. And for a long time I wouldn't even use the middle initial J. And as my personal spiritual development path went, and I went through a divorce God, over 20 years ago. And so for a long time I had his name.
Yeah.
But as my life progressed and I graduated from massage school, I remember them saying to me, and my divorce was final, and they said to me, what name do you want on your certificate? And I remember saying, well, I'm not going to take his name into the new
Yeah.
life, but I don't want my maiden name back, so I'll hyphenate. And I did Joy Devlin. And I'll never forget my mother's face, like, excuse me, you're using
Right.
Joy now? But see, I was on a journey to reclaiming joy for myself. I see this now. Of course, I didn't see it then.
And I love that it's like your middle name. So it's like
Yes,
this, like,
it
that's so
was.
awesome.
And then what ended up happening is about probably 13 years ago now, I no longer wanted his name hyphenated.
Yeah.
I've been with Dana, my honey, now for 20 years.
Yeah.
I no longer wanted my birth name. I wanted, for the first time in my life, to be fully, authentically me. I dropped all names and legally, went through the courts to become Linda Joy.
Mm.
And little did I know that less than a year after doing that, I would receive the divine download for Aspire magazine.
Yep.
I would start that going deeper into the path, but really, divine knew all along that I was meant to experience joy, live in joy, and all this, but until, and this goes back to what you just said, until
Mm.
I gave my self permission to embrace it. So funny now that all my brands are about inspiration that ties into
Yep.
joy, and I'm like, I giggle when I hear it, and of course my mother loves to say, oh, and you never liked that name, huh? And now I go, well, Mom, thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you for
somewhere
that
in
name.
her she knew, right? It's that
Yeah, she
it's
knew, and
seed
now
that
I can truly say I embody the essence of joy. I choose to live in joy and happiness, even in the midst of life's messiness.
beautiful.
So,
Hmm.
as we come to an end, I want to be sure to share that you have a sacred gift for our listeners. And
Mm.
everyone, you can see the click to claim your free gift button on the right side of this video. And what Alexa has to share with you is her guidebook, Your Roadmap to a Lighter, More Wonder-Filled Life. And you'll also receive an empowering video with that. And she may have a little special bonus I hear from little birdies that will be waiting for you when you get there too. So Alexa, thank you so much for being here, and just always being your radiant self. You always lift my spirits when I'm with you. Love the work you're doing in the world, but thank you just for sharing yourself so openly in both the book and here today.
Thank you, Linda, for having me. It's just been an amazing experience, and yeah, I just love connecting with you. You can see me here all emotional. Shouldn't put mascara on when I talk to you, but
I know this happened last time too for both of us. We were
yes.
both like, oh, oh, oh. Well, you know what it is when you resonate, when you're connecting with someone and you're like, a mentor of mine calls it level 3 conversation. And when you get to this part of life that you don't want shallow conversation anymore. That's level 1. Level 1
Yep.
is, like she explains, is, hi, how are you? But you really don't want to hear the answers, right?
Yeah,
Level
totally.
2 is, the next level up. Level 3 is you dive deep into truth and shit and react and your authentic self. Those are
Yeah.
the kind of conversations that I love to have, and
Mm,
that's why it's always fun to bring you back for those conversations.
mm. I appreciate it so much. This has been wonderful. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank
And
you.
everyone, as I close out every video with a sacred reminder, choose love, choose joy, and yes, choose happiness. Love you all. Mwah.
Bye,
Blessings.
everybody.
Bye.